instead of thinking to yourself, how am I going to do this? How am I going to implement this new idea? How am I going to get all these tasks done? You want to change your mindset to, instead of thinking, how am I going to do this as the chiropractic practice owner and CEO, to who can I get to do this? Who can I delegate these tasks to?
Dr. Duncan says, if you want to know about business, health, and places to go, welcome to the show. Yeah, welcome to the show. If you know that you want to grow your business, your practice, and portfolio, welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast for chiropractic practice owners. I'm your host, Dr. Mary Frances Duncan, founder and CEO of Simply Southern Chiropractic Center in South Carolina. I'm a chiropractor by trade in an entrepreneur's body. I'm excited to guide you through this journey at the crossroads of chiropractic care and the art of successful practice management. If you haven't already, check out my website, milliondollarchiro.co, where you can access all of our previous podcasts, online courses, and gain more insight on one-on-one coaching with me. And don't forget to stay connected by following us on all social media platforms at $1 Million Chiro. You can listen to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast, on all popular streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Ultimately, if you enjoy what you're hearing, please hit that subscribe button and leave us a glowing 5-star review. Reviews allow us to hear from our listeners and what interests you. Now, let's get to the backbone of it all. Class is officially back in session. Welcome back to the $1 Million Chiro podcast. I'm Dr. Duncan, and I'm here with my executive assistant, Kelsey, and we are happy to be back on our podcast again with weekly episodes.
Hello, everybody. Like Dr. Duncan said, we are back in class. Welcome to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast. After our abbreviated summer schedule, we are back with weekly episodes that cover your entrepreneurship goals, business-focused mindsets, and everything in between. So today is a very special day on the podcast because we're starting with some course material. Dr. Duncan wanted to recommend some reading to go along with these new episodes that'll be coming your way. So we're going to be starting this 2-part series that's going to cover some book recommendations that Dr. Duncan likes to recommend to anybody with an entrepreneurship mindset. So today we'll be talking through all of those books. We'll be talking through the first 2, and then in part 2, we'll be talking through the other 2. So, Dr. Duncan, let's go ahead and just start with the titles and the authors of each book, specifically the 2 that we're chatting about today, and we'll leave part 2 for the other 2 books, so you have to go and listen to that.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about 4 books that I think are helpful and important for chiropractic practice owners to read. You can listen to it on an audiobook, you can read it, but I've gained a lot from these books, and I'm going to share that in the next 2 podcasts, and I really think that you can get a lot out of these books as well. So the first 2 that we're going to talk about today, number 1 is Who Not How, The Formula to Achieve Bigger Goals Through Accelerating Teamwork. That's by Dan Sullivan. And the second one is Buy Back Your Time. Get Unstuck, Reclaim Your Freedom, and Build Your Empire by Dan Martell. And so both of these books, I read these books probably about 18 months ago, but I have implemented a lot of the strategies in these books in the last year, and it has changed my life as owner and CEO of my chiropractic practices exponentially. And so this is going to be a good podcast because my executive assistant, Kelsey, has lived through some of this, especially the second book we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about all of this stuff together. I figured this would be a really great podcast to kind of bring the session back in class with. So let's go ahead and break down the first book that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be breaking down both Dan authors today. So the first book will be Who Not How, The Formula to Achieve Bigger Goals Through Accelerating Teamwork by Dan Sullivan. So, Dr. Duncan, my first question is about this title. I assume the story goes into detail about the who, not how concept. So, can you explain a little bit of the meaning of that phrase for you?
Sure. So this book was written by Dan Sullivan in 2020, and Dan Sullivan is an entrepreneurial coach. He puts out a lot of material. He's put out a lot of material for a long time to help entrepreneurs and businesses grow. And he puts out a lot on leadership. So in this book, Who Not How, the premise of this book talks about you want to find, instead of thinking to yourself, how am I going to do this? How am I going to implement this new idea? How am I going to get all these tasks done? You want to change your mindset to, instead of thinking, how am I going to do this as the chiropractic practice owner and CEO, to who can I get to do this? Who can I delegate these tasks to? And so this book helps teach us, and it talks a lot about we've got to delegate tasks to other people. And if we don't delegate tasks to other people as the business owner, our business will never grow. Because in the beginning, when you start your practice as a business owner, and most chiropractic practice owners are chiropractors, we're doing everything. We're adjusting, we're treating the patients, we're running the business, we're paying the bills, we are doing the hiring. We are, at one point, I was checking out patients at the front desk. I was also doing the therapies. And so we can't grow if we're doing these things. And even 18 months ago, I was far from, running the front desk or doing therapies, but I was still doing tasks that just weren't worth my time. And so this book really talks about we have to delegate, and we are not the only people that can do our jobs. Like, we can teach other people how to do the things that we do. And so this book really talks about the importance of writing down systems. We have started in our clinic to try to use the program Trainual to, everyone in our office that we want to delegate things to has their own training material. You can do this online. You start by writing it out, and you start by recording the tasks that you do, and then you put that into a program. And so that's really sort of what this book talks about.
Right. So, and I guess the more EA side of things, the executive assistants over here that might be listening in to help out their clinic owner, the best thing I always like to think is, what can I take off of Dr. Duncan's plate in order to allow her the time to grow and excel, and enforcing that to other people that are in the practice. How can we work together to avoid, bombarding her with things that we can take care of ourselves?
Yeah, and I think so for practice owners listening, what Kelsey just said is sometimes hard for us to accept help. So I went through a lot of this, and I still go through these emotions. When I first, you get to your pain point where you just can't grow anymore because as a practice owner, you don't have the capacity to do anything else. You can't put anything else on your plate. You can't even get the tasks done that you're supposed to be getting done now. That's when you know you have to delegate, and you have to start getting other people to help you. But some of the things that I went through specifically for chiropractic is the first thing I thought was, I feel bad asking for help. Like, my staff and my team are going to think that we want to be the leader, we want to be the example, and I want to work hard. I love working hard, and I want my staff to, know that I work hard because that's setting an example. But when I start delegating tasks, which takes things off of my plate, which, I used to get into the clinic. I would get into the clinic every day, 6 days a week, at 6 a.m., if not earlier, and I wouldn't leave till 9 o'clock. And I still do that at least one night a week here. But I was doing that 6 days a week. And I just thought, my staff need to see this. So as I started delegating, things started getting taken off my plate. And I thought, they're not going to, they're going to start slacking off. They're going to think that I'm not working hard and they shouldn't work hard. And to be real, you do get some of that. But as time goes on, those people probably aren't going to be working at your office, very long. But you've got to get out of your head, that you have to, that you don't deserve help, or that you shouldn't delegate to other people. Because I used to think to myself, oh my goodness, I can't put anything else on the front desk plate. I can't put anything else on this person's plate. And here I am drowning. And if I don't get help as the business owner, we are not, you have to remember, you won't have a business to survive. So there will be no business to provide jobs for your other employees. There's no business, there won't be a business to grow. You won't be helping patients in your community. So you got to take care of, if we can get help and take care of ourselves as the practice owners, then we can help the people that work for us, and we can help more people in the community. So that was the first hurdle that I had to get over. And then this book also helped me with the second hurdle, which I thought, no one can do this as well as I can. And here's the truth on that. No one can do it as good as you can. That's why you're the practice owner. That's why you hopefully have a successful practice. But you've got, if someone else can do tasks, just even that can help you, that they might not be as good as how you would do it, but they're good enough, then accept the help and move on. And as a business owner, you have to realize which tasks are really important, that are going to move the needle, that are going to give you a great return on investment. Those are the tasks that you need to be involved in. The other things we need to delegate out. So if you didn't go to school for a particular thing, then you need to outsource that. So, for example, I didn't go to school to do taxes. I didn't go to school for bookkeeping. That is something that I recommend you outsource. I didn't go to school to learn how to run digital ads and do SEO and social media. So even though you may do that, you might like to do that, that's not going to bring you income. So the one thing that we can do as chiropractors that no one else can do is adjust patients. Your staff can adjust patients. Other professionals can't adjust patients. So, massage therapists can't adjust patients. Your medical doctors can't adjust patients. And so that is what you need to spend your time doing. If you are still in your business, and if you're working on your business, if you're trying to transition from being in your business to working on your business, then the things that other people, can't do, which are going to make you money, is, overseeing, running your business, having the creative mind. You need to put your time and energy into that. You can pay anybody else to do anything. So your assistants can help with therapies. The front desk staff can answer phone calls, can schedule patients, can go over financial ROS with patients. Those are not things that chiropractic business owners should be doing, and frankly, they're not things that your associate chiropractors should be doing. They need to also be in the treatment room, because if they aren't adjusting and they aren't bringing in collections to the clinic, nobody's going to have a job. So this book really helped give me a mind shift change on the things that are really important, help me see things from a 30,000-foot view, and with a bigger picture, that as long as I realized, if I continue treating patients 5-6 days a week, we will never grow as a company. And so our company will only grow as I reduce my treatment hours. And so that's what I've sort of done. I started that process about 4 years ago. I dropped my treatment days from treating 5 and 6 days a week in the beginning to now I treat a day and a half a week. And so I think that's very important for the chiropractic business owner. If you are a practicing chiropractor, that you've got to reduce your hours, and you've got to be okay with the fact that patients, sometimes, I was scared, I'm going to lose patients. They're not going to want to see anybody else. And some may not. I have patients that stop coming and they only wanted to see me. They would not see anybody else. And that's okay, because yes, you'll lose that patient, you'll lose the revenue from those particular patients, but you're going to grow and gain so much more when you can have other people in place that are also treating patients. And so this book really started getting me thinking about the bigger picture and how to really grow and scale these practices.
So, with that being said, I know that I came on after you had read this book, and I was hired on after you'd read this book. Did that change your mindset when it came to hiring the who versus the how?
So, not totally this book. So, this book helped me. I started to delegate tasks to people that were already on my team. They can do more. They were capable of things. This book helped me give opportunities to other people on our team that grew them. We've had some staff members move into leadership roles. And so I just started with our in-house team and giving them some more tasks to do. And so in our next podcast, we're going to talk about not retaining employees. And so this works really well when you hire good employees, competent employees. You hire well and you're able to retain employees, because it is, I think, a fear of mine is I don't want to teach somebody how to do something to help me and then them not be here and just leave. Because if they're not going to be here, then it's going to be, if I delegate this to someone, task to someone else, I have to trust that they are going to do it and do it the right way. Do it, complete task. And if I pass this along to someone else and trust that they do it, and then they just leave, then I have to go back and pick up the pieces, and it's even harder. It would have been easier if I just did those things on my own in the beginning. So you do have to have a good team, and we're going to talk about that on our next podcast. But you want to keep a good team, and so that's something to look to in our next episode.
Yeah, and in the meantime, if you're wondering about hiring great employees, you can go listen to one of our very first episodes, the hiring funnel that Dr. Duncan talks about that with.
I cannot say this enough. Staffing and staff management is the absolute hardest part of being a chiropractic business owner. I hope you guys realize this, that are listening to these episodes. That is the key to having successful practices is your team. We are a service-based industry. We have to have like other human beings to help run these clinics. And that is, the people in your clinic are the heart of your clinic, and you have to hire well, and you want to keep your good talent. And so with this book, Who Not How, we want to delegate tasks to your existing team members. So the book is interesting. It starts off with a story. We all know this story. If you know anything about basketball, in the 80s, Michael Jordan started playing with Chicago Bulls, and Scottie Pippen came on. And instead of Michael Jordan doing everything, their coach, Phil Jackson, was able to bring in Scottie. Scottie helped Michael Jordan. They both grew as players, and then they really got the team involved with working together and playing well, and they started winning championships. And so I think that's just a good reminder and a good example. Michael Jordan is fabulous and, probably the best basketball player of all time, but he was even better with Scottie. And so we've all, as we watched that when we were kids, we were all able to see that, especially in the 90s. But you need a Scottie Pippen on your team. You're Michael Jordan, and you're going to be your best self when you have a Scottie. And so this book is a good read. It really tells you how to do that.
That's great. I'm excited to see how that keeps going out into fruition with our practice here. So are you ready to hop into book number 2?
Yes. This is for this podcast episode, I like Who Not How, don't get me wrong, but I love this next book, which is Buy Back Your Time.
Right. So Buy Back Your Time is a book that we both are very excited to talk about, because this was actually the book, one of the first assignments I was ever given by Dr. Duncan was to read this book. So this is Buy Back Your Time, Get Unstuck, Reclaim Your Freedom, and Build Your Empire by Dan Martell. So the first question I have for you, Dr. Duncan, is how did you hear about this book and what caused you to buy it?
Sure. So I have a coach. I coach other chiropractors, but I have a coach myself, and I work with a group called Chris, and it is a business group actually for law firm owners. And so I get a lot of information from them, but I learned about this book from Chris, and I listened to it on audio, and I think this was probably April and May of 2023. And so I knew this helped me realize that I needed an executive assistant. I sort of knew that in the back of my mind that I needed help, either a personal assistant or executive assistant, but this book really hit home, and it gives you steps to take to get help to be able to buy back your time. So when you first start this book, the author talks about finding out what your buyback rate is. And he's got his own formula, and you can read or listen to that. But for the chiropractic office specifically, this formula, take what you can collect in an hour. So say with you treating patients, if you are a chiropractor. So for example, just maintenance adjustment price is $58. So that's, just maintenance. They're not coming in for anything else, no therapies or anything like that. And if we are really busy, I can comfortably see 4 people every 30 minutes, adjust, but I could do 5 every 30 minutes. Say I did 10 just saw 10 pages in an hour, that's 10 times $58, which is $580, and then you can divide that by a 40-hour work week, so by 40, and so you can afford to hire your buyback rate is I can hire somebody for a max of, at the beginning, $14.50, and it's gonna be worth my time to hire somebody to do tasks that I could be doing during that time period, because you've gotta take your highest earning, task, which, if you're a practicing chiropractor, might be treating patients. If you're not practicing, you'd have maybe the book can help you with getting that value. But this is a really easy way to sort of figure out, can I afford to hire somebody, and then what is the rate at which I am going to get a good return on investment. So that's number 1 with this book. And then number 2 is you've gotta know when you hit your pain line. So your pain line in my mind is where we can't grow anymore, we're plateaued, because I, as a chiropractic business owner, am completely maxed out. I know this in my own life. I'm a pretty organized person, I know what's going on, I'm sharp, I can keep up, but when I start missing appointments or I'm forgetting things, I know that I'm to my pain point or to my breaking point. So it is not like me to not show up. It is not like me to forget something. But when that starts happening, I know that I have to get help. So in my own life, this has happened to me twice. I know that I'm so busy and I really need help when I don't even listen to music anymore. I used to listen to music all the time when I drove, always. I thought it was weird when people didn't. But I just sit in silence, and it's a good time to think. But I have twice in my life just completely driven through a red light, and one time was a stop sign at a very busy intersection. And thank God nothing happened. I didn't hit anybody. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't hurt myself. But after I'd gone, through the light, I looked back and I realized, oh my goodness, I completely went through that red light, and I did not even realize I went through the red light. And that's how I knew I have way too much on my plate. This is dangerous. This is not safe. I am not using my time efficiently, effectively, and I have to get help. So I hope you guys never get to that point, but for me, that's what it was, where I realized I have to do something different. This is not working. So that was my pain point. That was my pain line. You've got to figure out where your pain line is. And then the third thing that the book talks about is the order. You realize you need help, so then you need to get help in certain areas. And there's this specific order in hiring people to help you. So number 1 is, as a chiropractic business owner, when you're ready to scale and you've got too much on your plate, you've got to get an executive assistant, and that is your first hire. And that's what I did with Kelsey over a year ago, and it has changed my work life exponentially, and it has helped me so much to be able to function and to get some more things done. Number 2 is the next hire that you want to make after the executive assistant is someone that is involved in the delivery of your product. So in the chiropractic office, that is going to be probably another associate chiropractor. And I know that might need more assistants if you have more chiropractors, but your assistants are not income producing. Your chiropractors, your doctors are. So it might be time for you to, bring on another chiropractor. And you always want to be staffed up, because we get chiropractors get sick. It's happened. We want replacements. We want to be able to help each other out. And so we've got a great team at our office. There's 4 of us, and someone's out on vacation, someone's sick. I mean, we really step in and help each other, and we don't want to close the office. We're able to fill in and make sure the patients get the best care that they deserve, even if it's with another practitioner. So the third hire that's important to make after you have an executive assistant and once you have another chiropractor is someone to do your marketing. So in our office, Kelsey has started to transition from the executive assistant role to a brand ambassador role. And in that role, she is doing our marketing. She's not doing our social media. She's not doing our SEO because, again, she didn't go to school for those things. And she can spend her time more effectively and more wisely overseeing vendors that we have. So, Kelsey, in a minute, I'll let you talk a little bit more about what that role is and what it looks like. And then the fourth really important hire, once you've got the first 3 hires in place, is someone that's going to help you in sales. And in my opinion, in a chiropractic office, I think this means for us an intake person. So, for example, large law firms, they have intake people that answer the phone, they're talking to clients, they're signing up clients. And so in a chiropractic office, we are going to implement this year. Our call volume is out of control. We get per office per day over 120 calls. Minimum. That's minimum. We get over 120 calls per day to the office. And the people right now that are answering our phone, they are marked desk girls. And our front desk girls are also checking patients in. They are scheduling patients. They're acknowledging patients' presence in the lobby. They are going over financial ROFs. They're entering insurance. Like, there's so much that they are doing that we want to take this off their plate. So we are going to implement an intake person. This would be like a dispatcher. I want a live person to answer my phone. I think that's important. I don't want to talk to a machine. I don't think other people do either. So having someone that answers the phone and then they can direct the phone calls to where they need to go, or that intake person, they can handle some things on their own. And so that is the fourth hire. And it's taken me over a year to start to put these things in place. But this book really gave me some ideas, which was very exciting because I know they'll help us grow. So, Kelsey, when I hired you, one of your first tasks was I wanted you to read this book, and I wanted you. I thought it would help you understand me and what I am doing as a business owner. But you tell us a little bit what you got out of it and why this was important to you.
Sure. So when I read it, Buy Back Your Time for the first time, it was a good understanding of Dr. Duncan and just kind of understanding the volume, because when you're walking into a new business, you don't know anything. You're starting from scratch. So I was really getting a good understanding of what stressors she was dealing with as a CEO and a business owner. How do you handle those things, and how can you not handle those things? And so I was able at first just to kind of take a step back, and I was a little like, okay, like that's helpful. I think we'll see what we can implement. A lot of time management and calendar management type suggestions, but with someone who's got a million and one things going on, you can't even sit down and expect them to hash out a whole hour with you. So you really have to take the time that you can get. And Dr. Duncan, I think, and I have found a pretty good ebb and flow recently with kind of a good time management of taking time for ourselves and getting tasks done while also meeting together and getting the tasks that we need to do together. But I mean, like she said, it's been over a year now. So that's taken us even time to navigate and to understand. So that was one of the big things for me, was just time management and how to get the bigger projects done while also advising my CEO and making sure that it was matching with the vision of the company. Which then kind of transitioned me into a brand ambassador role where I was able to work more with the marketing side of things. I kind of naturally leaned that way in my executive assistant position. It's all kind of coincided together. So checking in with the marketing team, having our social media manager talk to me, and our blog writer talk to me, and our SEO people chat with me. These are all valuable people to our business, but they're not in terms of Dr. Duncan's time being spent focusing on making sure that the job is getting done, because that's my job. So that was something to really take away from that book, is that I also have a job, and my job is to take that stress away from her and give her her time back. Um, and hopefully I've done so, but at the same time, I really want to make sure that other people are also giving her some time back as well. So not checking in with all of these people, having someone to do that, it's a domino effect. So I think a big takeaway from me from that was just buying back Dr. Duncan's time, even taking that title and applying it. And I would say a big thing that Dr. Duncan and I worked on together in Buy Back Your Time was this 10-80-10 rule. And I know Dr. Duncan probably has some thoughts on this as well. But like she had mentioned in the Who Not How book, you can't do it. You can't do everything. The CEO, the business owner can't do everything. It's impossible. Um, and even in this Buy Back Your Time book, they say the same thing. So instead of the job getting done 100% to the best of your ability, you accept the 80% that it's going to get done at because you're not the one doing it, but it's still getting done 80% to the task at hand. So that's a big thing that I took away from that, and we've kind of had to go back and forth on of like, Dr. Duncan, it's 80%. I know it's not the 100 you wanted, but at the same time, this isn't you doing it, and that was the 20% of time that you got back. So those are some big topics that we've gotten to chat about over the year.
Yeah, so the book talks about 10-80-10 rule. And so that it's 10% of your time, 80% of the time, and the last 10% of the time spent on a project. So in the first 10% of the time, the business owner is probably coming up with their ideas. They have their idea generators. They have exciting things they want to try. And so for 10% of the new project is the chiropractic practice owner telling someone else, hey, this is my idea. I want to implement this. And then 80% of the project is taken care of by someone else. You delegate this job to someone else. They execute, they figure out, what's the cost, they do all the hard work on it, that's time consuming. And then the last 10% of the project, the chiropractic practice owner, we go back, the person that's helping you presents the project or the final product to you, and then you put your spin on it. It's like, a chef has people helping them in the kitchen, and then the chef puts their final touch on the food before it's served to guests at the restaurant. And so that will help, that using that rule 10-80-10 helps get things done, because I get stuck. Like, I have great ideas. I love coming up with ideas, and I know how to execute. I don't have the time, and it's not worth my time and energy to do some of these things when I am going to bring more collections and money into the clinic by doing other tasks. So this is, you figure out your buyback rate, you hire somebody to be able to do these tasks, and then you let them do it and you let them help you. And that's that's interesting. That I like that was a big takeaway for you, Kelsey, because it sure is a big help for me as a business owner.
Yeah, I feel like we have naturally, even after reading the book, and it's been almost over a year since I've been here, naturally, I think we just do that as a team. So I definitely get that initial project from Dr. Duncan. I take it, I do what I think she's going to want from it, whether it be exact, I want it exactly like this, or it be, come up with something and I'll take it from there and we'll work on it together at that point. So I think it also gives Dr. Duncan her time back, while also allowing me to be a little bit creative as well. So I really appreciate it, and I think we have a good system that way.
Yes, and the last part of this book talks about creating vision for your future. And so I encourage everyone that's listening that is a chiropractic practice owner, you want to have a 5-year plan, and you want to have some 10-year goals, and really coming up with a vision. But you can dream all you want to, and you can have this vision, but you've got to have, we've got to put this in place somehow. And so that is creating an org structure, an organization structure. How, if you're the CEO and owner at the top, how does everyone trickle down underneath you? Who should your employees report to? And, creating this org structure is very important. And so I do have an online course, and this is one of the courses in that. It's hard to come up with a structure. If you never if you're experiencing growth and you've never had this growth before, like, it is hard to figure out the new structure of a growing chiropractic clinic. Because one of the reasons that I have really enjoyed watching lawyers do these big law firms, and they have figured out the structure. And most chiropractic practices, up until recently, have been very small mom and pop practices, but our clinics are growing, which we love. We want to treat more patients. More people are open to chiropractic care, but I don't think chiropractic offices know how to scale, and we're learning this. How do hospitals do this? How do law firms do this? How do larger corporations do this? And so coming up with an organization structure is important, and sticking to that, and then making sure that your staff members know a path to advancement, and they also know who to go to with issues or problems. And I think that's a big part of your vision, and your vision board has got to have an organization structure or chart that's included.
Right. And naturally, we've kind of had this moment throughout my time being here of letting Dr. Duncan have these like visionary moments where we're talking, okay, here's where we are now. How can we scale and how can we adjust the group we have to put them in leadership roles that allow for that organizational system to iron out even better. And that's been a really fun experience on my end of things, just hearing her thoughts and her visions as to what works, what doesn't work, what has worked for her in the past, and what hasn't worked for her in the past. So it's been a really interesting experience to see what we started with and where we are now, and how that's all ironed out, and the plan is kind of working in place consistently.
Yeah, and these books are great. They give you great ideas, but when you implement them in your own clinic, you're gonna have things that evolve and change. So you may try to delegate to a certain person, and but and they put them in that role and they don't do well in that role. And that's okay if they're a great employee. There's other places for them in the clinic, and you wouldn't have known unless you tried it. You go back to the drawing board. We had this happen this week with one of our team members at the front desk. The front desk is not the best place for her right now, but it may be in a year. It may be in 2 years from now, but you don't know until you try. But this growing your clinic and trying to buy back your time as a chiropractic business owner is always evolving, and it's always changing, and you have to learn as you go.
All right, so Dr. Duncan, one of the last questions for the Buy Back Your Time book. Now you've read this book, it's been almost over a year since you've read it. How has things changed in this hiring and time management type of field? How's it changed from then to now?
Sure. So when the first thing I did, as the book said, was I hired you as my executive assistant. And when I first hired you, do you remember I told you that I thought it was going to take us 6 months to sort of figure out how this role works? Because these were uncharted waters for me. I've never had an assistant before. And so it actually ended up taking about a year. And so it took longer than I thought, but I've learned a lot. And now I know how an executive assistant can help me and how important that is to the life of this practice. So, Kelsey hit on this a little bit. I learned this about myself and my job. 75% of what I do is involved in marketing, and I did not realize this. And so overseeing vendors that we have, I always suggest hiring vendors that are not in-house. Why? Because number one, I can't babysit, and we have enough people in this clinic. I don't want to be in charge of someone right now. I'm not saying in the future, but right now I don't want to be in charge of somebody where I don't really know what they're doing. And so we have vendors. We have a social media manager. We have an SEO website company that does digital ads and SEO. We have a blog writer. We have, what else do we have?
We have Chris, who does business coaching while also
Video.
doing professional videos for us, paid ads. That's a big deal.
This podcast, we do not produce this podcast. And so Kelsey she oversees all of these vendors and checking in with them and making sure they have the things that they need. Oh, we do a billboard, and we have a representative for the billboard company. And so I realized that 75% of my time was spent with these people. And so Kelsey is sort of helped me out, as an executive assistant. She's taking things off of my plate. And we realized that a lot of what she's doing is working with these vendors. And so we have transitioned, or started to transition into a brand ambassador role for our office. And so um, in this book, Buy Back Your Time, it talks again about the 4 important hires. So number 1 is an executive assistant. Number 2 is someone involved in the delivery of your good or service, which in our office would be a chiropractor. We hired another chiropractor, our 4th one in-house last fall or around Christmas time. And then the next biggest hire is, someone that does marketing, and in our case, is someone that's overseeing marketing. That's what Kelsey is sort of transitioning into. And then the last piece of this for us is someone that works in sales, which we talked about. We want to hire an intake person. And so as Kelsey sort of moves into a different role, she still is my executive assistant, but moving into a brand ambassador role. We're looking to replace her on some of the smaller tasks, doing things, helping me in my personal life, going to the bank for the office, making a deposit, going to the post office, and just finding a personal assistant really to sort of fill that role. And I want to talk about this. If you are a female business owner, you are doing a lot more probably than a male business owner, because unless you're working with your spouse, like I don't have a work life. Like a lot of chiropractic practices are husband and wife duos. They're both chiropractors, or the husband's a chiropractor and the wife works at the front desk. And I don't have that. My husband, he is not a chiropractor at all. He's a lawyer. Like he has his own practice. And so you need help. And as a female, if you have children, you probably have a lot of responsibility with your kids. You are doing other things. You're making sure that your house is put together. You're dropping off dry cleaning. You are making sure that you've got dinner ready, or that you're working with someone to get that planned out. And so I'm talking specifically with female business owners. Do not feel bad. You need a personal assistant that helps you with things in your personal life, because you're doing so much more probably than just running this business.
Right.
And you're making sure that these things are getting done for your family. And if your spouse is helping you with this, that's awesome. And we need to see more of that. But for chiropractic business owners that are females, and you don't have another family member or spouse that's working in your clinic, you probably need help on a personal front too. And so I didn't realize how much help I needed with those things. I'm the one who talks to our lawn maintenance guy to make sure that the grass gets cut at our house and at our clinic. I'm the one who talks to our cleaner to make sure that the clinics get cleaned, twice a week, and my house gets clean. You're the one the handyman. Even if you're not doing all these things, you're scheduling these things, and don't feel bad for asking for help, because those are things in your life that you have to get done, but it leads you into work. And again, you shouldn't be spending your time doing those things. If you need someone to help you with laundry, hire somebody, bring somebody in, help you with laundry. Don't spend your time doing that when you could be spending your time that's going to give you a larger return on investment. So that's my little piece there. And same thing, like if you're a chiropractic business owner and you're a male, and your spouse is a professional too, and you guys have to figure things out, you might need a personal assistant if you're taking on some of these tasks at home, dinner, kids, pets, all those things too. So don't feel bad if you need to ask for help or hire help. And that's important to know your buyback rate.
Right. And coming from the executive assistant side of things, I genuinely do not know how Dr. Duncan did all of this as her oneself. That sounds kind of impossible, because we both have ridiculous schedules every single day of our lives while we're in the office. And we're 2 people. So the fact that she had all of that responsibility on just her, it sounds impossible. So I can advocate in terms of, don't feel bad for needing the help and asking for help, because there's people in the world that benefit and thrive off of people needing them just for their benefit. And I thrive off of Dr. Duncan needing me to do things for her. I love that. I love to be asked to do things. So that's definitely something on my end of things that, not to feel bad in that.
And practice owners, just remember this. you can I don't know how I did all that. I don't know how I treated 5 and 6 days a week and did all that for so many years, but I realized this, I'm getting older every year, we all get older. You can do everything for a while
Right.
until you can't, and you have worked too hard to get where you are. You went to chiropractic school, you took out all those student loans, you took out business loans. You work too hard to get where you are to lose it, to lose it all. It's just you've got too much to lose if you don't ask for help. You can't end up in the hospital with a panic attack. What happens if you hurt your wrist and you're in a car accident? What if you fall? I mean, and you can't stand up and do your job? Like, learn to delegate, get some help. Some of us thrive off of, being the one and only person that can do these things. But you're going to crash and burn. It's not going to work long term. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And so get some help if you're growing and scaling.
Right. And something that's I've kind of been thinking when you've been saying a lot of team effort and teamwork, you might be the team leader, but you still are on the team. And so you need to rely on these team players that are here to help you out.
Yes.
All right. Well, any other final takeaways from either of these books that you just really want to talk about?
No, I think you should read them. If you're a reader, you can read the actual book, not listen to it in the car on the way to work, get the audio version, but listen to them. They are very helpful. Even if you're not to the point where you're quite scaling or you might need help, I think it's great to go ahead and listen and read these books to get these ideas in your head so that you can think bigger and then go back and listen to it again when you're actually ready to make a move.
Right, absolutely. I read it and also did the audiobook at separate times, and I feel like I took one thing away at one point, and then while reading it and seeing the visuals, there's a lot of great visuals in Buy Back Your Time. I was able to learn more, so I definitely recommend that one as well. All right, well, that is a wrap on the first two books we're recommending you start reading, especially while we are back, classes in session for weekly scheduled podcast launches from Million Dollar Chiro. We will see you guys again next week.
Bye. And that's a wrap on another episode of Million Dollar Chiro, the podcast. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world where chiropractic care meets successful practice management. I'm Dr. Mary Frances Duncan, your host. Remember, you can find all of our previous episodes, online courses, and details about personalized coaching with me on our website, milliondollarchiro.co.